Hey everybody, Steve here in the Illinois recording studio again. Wow, I've got some fun stuff here. Really, really fun stuff. Cymbals and a beautiful Rogers set. Now, a little backstory on the Rogers kit. This is a Rogers kit from the early 60s. And this design goes back to the late 50s into the early 60s. This lug design you see right here is what they called a B&B lug, a bread and butter lug. I guess because it looks like a little stick of butter. But this lug was made from brass. It's all brass. But it was drawn down and pressed down. So over time on these lugs, you'd get stress cracks at these corners where the metal was bent. So that particular lug only stayed in the line till about 1964. They started in the late 50s and into 1964, and they were replaced with the cast lug that we call the beaver tail lug, the one we're used to on the majority of Rogers drums. But these drums are great. The shells were wonderful. These were the 3-ply shells before they went to 5-ply shells. They have reinforcement rings, and the particular lug design is elegant, but there's, and by the way, the hoops are what they called the tall hoops. So they were much a higher profile than what they went to around 64. So these are what we call the tall boy hoops. But even more crazy and wild is the setup here for, as you can see, you got the snare drum hanging off of a Rogers Swivomatic tom arm with a slightly different bracket here. So if you look in the late 50s Rogers catalog, they had a Cozy Cole outfit. And the Cozy Cole outfit was basically just like what you see here. And the only difference was everything on the Cozy Cole outfit was mounted off of the bass drum. And so you basically only had a couple of things to move. You moved the floor tom, and you moved this configuration. There was even a couple other cymbal arms, it's crazy, and the hi-hat. So you had basically a supposedly portable outfit. Okay, now that, I don't know. How much do you really need it? I don't know. Do you really need the snare drum hanging off the bass drum like this? Hey, again, you know, there's no snare stand, so it's one less piece of hardware. But by the same token, if you've got this tom and this snare hanging on that side of the bass drum, unless you have a good-sized ride cymbal hanging right here, that whole drum set's going to tip right over on you. And there was no second set of spurs in the back to balance it out. So, you know, of course, everybody used it with a ride cymbal on the bass drum. So the way we've got it here, it's balanced. But in regular use, if you don't have that on there, this thing's tipping over. So it's a really nice example. And this is steel gray ripple that was in the color line back then. And the kit, incredibly, these particular lugs, the lugs on all these drums, don't have any of the normal hairline splits that you'd see on them. So that's amazing. Of course, the rest of the hardware, the Swivomatic hardware with the machined collets, and the same thing for the floor tom brackets were machined, and the bass drum spur brackets have the machined collets. Great sounding set of drums. These earlier drums had a more rounded bearing edge, a 3-ply shell, so they were a little warmer in sound than what they went to when they went to the 5-ply shell with 45 edges and reinforcement rings around 64. So they're great drums. They sound good. They're incredibly fun to play. Now, along with this, we've got some cymbals from the same period. Beautiful set of 14-inch hats, a really nice 22, a little thicker, and one of the best 20s I've ever played in my life. This thing has got 6 rivets in it. It's nice and thin, and you'll see it up on the Reverb store. All of this you'll see on the Reverb store. So all of that, you can check it out there. So enough of me yapping about it. I'm going to do a little playing on the kit and also do a little playing of just to kind of use the whole entire drum set to tell a little bit of a musical story as opposed to just playing beats and things like that, of which I'll do a little. So anyway, we'll start over here with the cymbals. Here we go.